It's the SWP Disciple checking in. So, deep in the sticks of Connecticut, probably about 75, 80 minutes away from Springfield. Well, you can see the sign there, Bridgeport, Danbury. So I'm like towards the southern part of Connecticut, but not like deep south like Greenwich or anything like that. So I guess nearing the New Haven area, or apparently Bridgeport, right, as this sign says. So what was I doing down here? Well, I was in New Jersey at what's it called, Little Ferry. Never heard of the town, but it's just over the George Washington Bridge, so like northern Jersey. Of course, I'm very familiar with that drive from 4 years ago, and I was there for my boy L's baby shower. So twin boys he's expecting. What a blessing. And I think his wife, we'll call her V, is due excuse me, is due I don't know, like a month or so, maybe a little over a month, but usually twins come early, so we all kind of guessed what the date will be. I think she's due technically in like 7 weeks or so, but the babies will probably come here in like 4 weeks, let's just say. And damn, I got like the hiccups or something like that. Like, I know the call kind of sounded like I had a cold, but I don't. I made the grave error earlier in the week of I passed out by mistake with my AC on, and which I can't do. So I usually have to choose the devil, which side I want to deal with, like toss and turn the heat all night. That was when we had the heat wave where it got up to like 103 one of those days, like last week. Or wake up with like the sniffles or something. And I have my AC in my room. It's not set to like its coldest, and it's not in the window that's like above my head. It's like to the other side of the room. So in other words, what I feel is pretty much just a cooler room. I don't feel like the current or anything like that. Like artificial air gives me a cold, but somehow it got me this time, and I got decently sick. Prior to COVID, I didn't really get sick hardly at all, even dealing with like heat and cold and all that sort of thing, and changing temperatures and everything. But ever since, I don't really get in crowds much, which today was a pretty decent crowd. I feel like a little bit slightly under the weather, even since the baby shower. I'm just gonna have to freebase some airborne to see if I can punch it out, which actually kind of worked against me, because like I've been basically fighting off the start of a cold since I came back from Texas, which of course, I'm in a petri dish tube, an airplane. I always get sick pretty much after a flight, but usually I can just take airborne and as much vitamin C as I can get my hands on for like a couple weeks, and I could feel it. It was like trying to punch its way through, and then I actually got like to ground zero. I was just like, I felt terrific, like maybe, I don't know, 6-7 days ago, and then it, I figured I was done, so I stopped taking airborne, and then it came back with the fury, running nose, and not the worst cold I ever had, but it certainly was not a fun time, especially in the summertime. So hopefully no more heat waves, so I don't have to, kind of make that be in that dilemma again. But anyway, I feel good now, just like a little residual congestion, but I'm fine. Like the cold is over, as it's been for a couple days now. So anyway, the baby shower was lovely, pretty good turnout. Hadn't seen my boy L in like probably 20 years. Now we talk often enough, certainly on birthdays and Christmases and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a lovely time. A couple other friends from undergrad who I hadn't seen in like 20 plus years. But thanks to like Facebook and other electronic venues, we keep in touch, whatever. So that's cool at least. And we picked up like we never left. That's the beauty of like guy friends. A couple lovely ladies there. I didn't want to be like a beast or whatever, just like nom 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 nom. My boy A, he was just all on it. He was like coupled up, boot up with this girl that he just met. You would have thought that they knew each other for a while or whatever, and he's already trying to parlay or whatever. But that method does work for him, so I guess trust the results. I was chatting up pretty well with this girl who seemed very intent on carrying on a conversation with me, and then as the night wore on, I think maybe she thought I was trying to parlay, and hey, yo, Ma, what's your number? Da, da, da. I didn't do any of that. Like, we exchanged IGs. That's enough. I figure more substantive conversation can happen afterwards, and I'm not even pressing it like that. She's cool. She's pretty. Traveling nurse. Blah, 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 whatever. But I was kind of turned off by, like, at the very end, like, kind of gave me, like, the limp handshake and all that, and, like, was basically, like, giving, like, the body language of, please don't try to, like, make this more than it is, whatever. Even though she was just, like, all in my grill, and what it turned out, or my assessment, my, pop psychologist or armchair psychologist is, and my boy A said this too, he's like, yo, turn up, yo, you gotta, like, you gotta be more aggressive. That's always been your issue, da-da-da-da, whatever. She's clearly jealous that I'm talking to her girl or whatever, and, like, she wants to, like, somebody show her some attention. And I think he might be right. I far be it for me to use jealousy as a reason for anything, really. I don't think I have anything to be jealous of, but maybe it was more of like a state of being or a state of mind because of the dynamic where, her friend was being doted upon. I don't know. But certainly as it came to, like, prove it hours, like, towards the end of it or whatever, then she just kind of clammed up. So whatever, no big deal. In my old age, I kind of know the routine. That's not the first, second, or 15th time that's happened to me. So it's like whatever. But the news of the day, let me just wrap that up. So got a lot of good photos and video and stuff, and it was a lovely time. It's funny because my man L, I met him in 2000 when I transferred back to my school, because I transferred away to Worcester State College, and then after that one semester there, I kind of got homesick and came back or whatever, and that's how I met them. So in other words, I would have met them, like fall of '99, had I not, not been there physically. And at first, he comes across as, like, gruff, kind of has, like, that New York City type thing, wants to run the dozens and, rank on cats and just, like, joke, whatever and stuff. But over time, we formed, like, a really nice brotherhood. And actually, he even just called me just a moment ago before I, went on air, so to speak. And then ended it, I guess I'm just getting soft in my old age. He's like, yeah, I love you, man, And I distinctly remember when we were younger, I'd sent him a message way more benign than that, because, like, at that point, as you're younger, a year, 2 years, 5 years feels like an eternity compared to now. We haven't seen each other in probably a good 20 years, and yes, you realize that it's been a couple decades and it's been a while, but it's like, you kind of pick up where you left off, and you're like, I understand, life happens, whatever, but we here now, whatever, like, thankfully we stayed in contact and stuff. But back then, I remember it had been maybe like a year or two, and we're old enough to be past all the the macho posturing or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I miss you guys, man. That's what I said, just like that, miss you guys. I didn't even say miss you, man. And then he was like, hey, yo, you said you reserve that for your loved ones and all that, blah blah blah, whatever. So I don't know, I guess time and maturity is a hell of a thing, right? As I often like to say, I have a few sayings that have become basically like, I don't know what's the word that I'm looking for. I guess like proverbs of my life, right? So I meet people where they're at. What I always say, you never know what's coming around the corner. That's a big one. I say that all the time. And people will move on things in their own time. And there's a bunch more. And this one is, that one's appropriate. Like, people will come to a certain place in their in their own time. Larry Bird famously, I mean, of course, the stakes are much higher now. He said $100 million. Cats are they're pretty soon going to have like $400 million NBA contracts. I know you saw Donovan Mitchell just get like a 4-year, 280 extension, or was it like 285? Not Luka, but Jokic, Nikola Jokic. He has on the table I think it's a 5-year, like 359 contract on the table, but he just hasn't signed it yet. I guess he's like playing with his horses or whatever over in Serbia. So yeah, we have like $400 million contracts coming pretty soon. But Larry Bird said, a lot of guys, what they want to do is like, not have the pressure of winning, but still make $100. And then he kind of went on to say people just kind of want to win on their own terms. And that is, so true. I mean, people just kind of want to do things on their own terms, even if they're arriving at the same answer that you had, years ago or whatever. But I guess they just want to kind of put their own type of stamp on it, and they want it where, I don't know, maybe they're uniquely credited, or it suits their lifestyle, and they don't necessarily have the pressure of having to live up to whatever. I don't know. I think you get what I'm saying, but Anyway, so that was cool. I thought I got down there late, like, it's from 3 to 7. I got there at probably like closer to 4, like, I don't know, 3:45, whatever. But it's a Black people event. So as I was arriving, my man L texted me, and he was like, "Oh, where you at?" Just kind of checking. I guess maybe he's getting anxious, and he's like, "Yeah, people are just starting to trickle in now." And I'm like, it's a Black people event. I guess I shouldn't be among the, I don't know if that's a pejorative, but like the CP time or whatever. But my excuse is I was coming from 3+ hours, and I did run into quite a bit of traffic. So instead of my drive being like, I think navigation said like 3 minutes or 3 hours, like 2 minutes or so, it was more like 3.5, 3:45. And of course, on the way back, it was like about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So there was, that much traffic. But yeah, like I said, lovely time. The only bummer was at the end. So I love efficiency. And this girl that I met seemingly randomly on IG, though I think a lot of that's just the algorithm. Like, in IG, when people are suggested, they come up in your feed, even if it's in the comments of like seemingly like an innocuous, unrelated video. A lot of times what it has to do with like is, people in your area, and the algorithm thinks that the video is like germane to you, and it makes sense based on what it thinks of your sensibilities and where you're from, and yada yada yada. So anyway, I stumble upon this, and then you kind of banter back and forth, like it was like a joke or whatever, I think is what sparked it. And then of course I go into her profile, it's private, whatever, but you can kind of see through the avatar, like, she might look like something. So then, I requested her. It's not like, at this point, I'm not like a stranger, like I'm not just a random. We interacted or whatever, and then, she accepted, she followed, etc. And then we just kind of went from there. And this is like, again, I move slow, especially when it's like, I don't know where she's from or anything, right? So this was like last year, at this point, probably like a year ago. And then we get to talking, yada, 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 and I go back in her photos, because like, you don't want to be that weird guy. You just meet her in 2025, and then you're liking videos that are, or photos that are like in 2019 or something. So, you got to kind of build up to that. And I still didn't even like it. I just kind of looked, I was nosy. And then I saw like, oh, you're friends with my friend, we'll call her B. And then, of course, I don't mention it to her. I text B, because I've known her since like, probably like 2011 or so. And then she tells me like, oh, that's my baby. We went to UConn together, da-da-da-da, whatever. And then, of course, that prompts me to go further back in the video, in her, why do I keep saying videos, in her photos in Instagram. And then I see the college videos. Because, like, at a certain point, it just gets weird. Like, if you're looking more than, say, like 5, 6, 7 years back, for them to be in college. So she's like 35. So, you're talking the nearest point of college is like 13 years ago, right? And then, of course, you start to look at them, and she looks like very baby-faced. Like, it's very clear that she's like, 18, 19, 20 or whatever. So then it's like, what are you, some weird like P word or whatever? Of course, that's like a hot button topic right now. It doesn't take much for people to put that, put that label on you. So it's a lot of technicality going on here, even for something as simple as like essentially researching someone's background. But anyway, we formed a nice rapport, whatever. And then she's always in my stories and stuff. Matter of fact, I just put photos up, and video or photos anyway. With like a little soundtrack and stuff from the baby shower, and I'm getting to why that matters. So anyway, trying to be efficient, I was like, yeah, we should have like like dinner after, because I'm gonna be here. You're from New Jersey, so that's the other side to it. Even though she went to UConn, she's not from Connecticut. She's not even from New York. She's from New Jersey. I'm like, damn, what is it about me and the Jersey girls? So anyway, we set it up maybe at this point like maybe a month, 2 months ago or so. Once I got the invite from Elle, and then she was like, oh yeah, that would be nice or whatever. And then at first I thought she was going to kind of try to do like the slow fade or like walk me out or whatever. And then I reminded her maybe, I don't know, like a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm on, da-da-da-da. Now, one thing that I remembered is that I did give her my phone number. She never like exchanged and gave me hers. She just kind of kept it to the IG DMs. Again, that's going to be another important point. So anyway, I noticed her message. To my chagrin, it was at like 9 this morning or 9:02 or whatever. I didn't get up until like 11, but obviously I could have seen it any time after that, but I just didn't. I'm not lying about it or anything. For whatever reason, and I stay on Instagram too, but for whatever reason, this one day, I was not really on Instagram like that. And my alerts didn't show like, you have a message from Call Her K, or anything, nothing to alert me. So it just sat there from like 9. And of course, in today's climate, we've all seen the videos of like girls are like, if a guy doesn't confirm with me the morning of or within whatever time, then I'm just gonna cancel on him. And like we'd already done all the legwork and had been confirming for every few days or so for like the last like maybe month and a half or 2 months or whatever it was. Of course, I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking it's in the bag. I don't mean in the bag as if like something's gonna happen. I mean like it's a fait accompli. We're gonna meet up. I sent her the RSVP too, so she knew exactly when I was leaving. It ran from 3 to 7, and of course, even though it was like CP time, people coming in, they did start kind of like booting us out low key around like 7. Some people I saw, because I ended up sitting in the parking lot as I was trying to like coordinate with this girl. People were still like trickling out close to 8, right? But the point is that like like last call or whatever you want to call it was like up through like right at 7 o'clock, whatever. So like, and a lot of my friends, they left like by like 7:15, 7:20 the latest. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and then I'm kind of obviously, you already know where this is going. I'm texting B, her longtime friend, my long-time friend, just to kind of coach me through it, I suppose. And we kind of mutually agree, like, yeah, give it like an hour, and then the kicker is I didn't wait all the way until 7:30, so I didn't see her message until like 6:02, right? So it looks bad, right? Because she had messaged me at 9. So basically it sat there for 9 hours, but not by design. I just didn't see it. Like, I have no reason to, there's no upside to me lying about that or anything. I just didn't see it, and I didn't think to check in Instagram, probably because the drive was like 3.5 hours down there, and then once you go down there, like, you yucking it up with all the old friends that you haven't seen for a while, it's very easy for time to just get away from you. And which it did, but still 6 is like an hour and a half before our appointed time. I said like right around 7:30, and anyway, the message that she sent at 6, I read it wrong the first time. So she said basically like, where do you want to meet, or do you want me to coordinate it? Like, she didn't say coordinate, but do you want me to set it up or whatever. I misread it and thought she said, do you want to meet there, or do you want to pick me up? So I text her back at like 6:02. Like, I'll pick you up. We get out of here at 7:30, And then, I just let it sit. And then something told me to look again. And I looked at it again, not long, maybe 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. And I reread it just, because obviously at this point now you're second guessing yourself. And I could see that she read it. Like, the read receipt is there. Read receipt is there. And then what she had said is, do you want me to set it up, or do you want to set it up, whatever. And then I was like, I did the, shaking my head emoji, like, oh darn, sorry, I misread that. I thought you meant, should I come and get you? Sure, you're familiar with down here, you can set it up, and then I'll just I'll meet you wherever. And after that, she didn't acknowledge any other anything else. So I sat there, I waited. At this point it's like 7:15, 7:20. I was in the parking lot of the venue of like the hall, what is the word that I'm looking for? It's like kind of like a Knights of Columbus where you can do multi-purpose things, whatever. But this one with banquet hall, like I was in the parking lot, but at a certain point it starts to look weird, me just sitting there I think I sat there for a good like half hour. So I went to another just random parking lot and killed time as much as I could until like 9, right? So at this point we're talking more than like an hour and a half or more. And nothing. So then I just tell B, I was like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna call it. And she's like, yeah, that's probably best. I'm sorry you gotta go through this, yada yada yada. She's such a sweetheart. Full disclosure, B and I, we met off of, I think, Match, probably back in 2011 or so. So that would have been, because she was born in 90, so she probably had just graduated college at that time, or was maybe in her senior year. And we kind of figured out pretty early on that we're just gonna be friends, and we've just remained friends the whole time. No weird shit, no like shenanigans or whatever, or underhandedness or whatever. Like, it's just been great. And I've seen her go through like tough relationships, guys doing very much the same thing that she, that her friend I guess did to me. She's married now, and to a Jamaican man, and doing pretty well as far as I can tell. Again, I have nothing but good things to say about her. And yeah, so I set out. What is it right now? It's 10:58. So I set out probably like right just after 9 or so. So, the better part of 2 hours, and it's moving along pretty well. But then here's the weird part. So I got put up my stories and stuff, and her friend Kay is like all in my stories, like she can see it. So I don't know if this is like some like punitive thing, or maybe she just, even if she didn't see the later messages that posted, she could have easily, because like during the day, this is no excuse because I did have points where I had internet, but I saw the sign where it was like, you have no internet, and then it would go back and forth between like 3G, 4 LTE, and then 5G. But she has my number, kind of like back, but not buried that far back in the messages, so she could have texted me. But I know a lot of women, they just don't want to give out their number until they're sure or whatever. So there is one important, harbinger, if that's the right word. A couple days ago, she was like, yeah, so like, instead of like dinner, we should probably just do like a meet and greet, since it's like later or whatever. And she's like, or unless, do you want to meet earlier? And like, which makes no sense because I'm like 3 hours away. The baby shower was from 3 to 7, so like, what am I gonna like, get up at like 9 to get there for like noon or something? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And 7 is plenty early. There's still like a couple hours of daylight by then. We didn't have to like vacillate and argue too much. I was like, I just agreed to it. I was like, yeah, meet and greet's fine. We'll still have a good time, whatever, And that was that. She's like, all right, cool, like, can't wait. Or no, she didn't say I can't wait. But she did have like an exclamation point, which implies, can't wait. She was like, all right, yeah, that'll be fun, or something like that. And here we are. So I'm pretty sure that this has to do with me not responding from 9 in the morning, but it wasn't intentional at all. It was just, I'm pretty good about getting right to answering people's messages, whether it's a DM or a text message or whatever. In fact, some people are like, damn, that was like within 5 seconds of me texting, you responded. And I'm like, well, yeah, I had my phone right in my hand or whatever. And I do that pretty often. And of course, this would be the day that I'm usually all in Instagram from like the moment I wake up, whatever, because I'm low-key addicted to it. And this is like the one day that I wasn't in Instagram like that. And it turned out to be an important gaffe. But I guess I'll know in short order what's up here, whether she's going to like block me or whatever. But I don't get that feeling because like she was like immediately all in my stories. So like it just doesn't make any sense. Like, if do you want to see me or do you not want to see me? So bit of a bummer. I was looking forward to it, especially because I had another friend who wanted to go to the jazz festival with me. It would have been tight because I know that she's more of an early evening type of person, and there's like 2.5, 3 hours between us. But I could have easily have like left at say like 6 and got back at 9 or so for the jazz festival. And I told her now I'm going to be, obviously I didn't tell her about the date on the back end of it, but I told her, because we have like kind of a weird relationship, like we're not dating or anything like that, but it's like one of those things like, if she acted right, I would probably entertain it, but I'm not going to make a super extension. But we kick it, we have a good time. We went to the Rick Ross concert last year, the Big E, we've gone to the movies many times, to dinners and stuff like that, so we're kind of like I don't know, I guess like emotional support at this point in a lot of ways, though not really like dating or doing any of that stuff. And it would have been nice because we went to the jazz festival last year and had a good old time. I forget her name. Fisher is her last name. Why can't I remember her first name? But she sings that song like, how can I ease the pain? You don't want to hear my singing, but yeah, and she sounds fantastic too, and she's like 50 something now at this point, or maybe even 60. So yeah, we have a good time when we kick it. It's just one of those things where she doesn't like my priorities. She doesn't like the fact that I'm like in law school for reasons that she suspect are because of my ex. She doesn't like that I have like 2 cars and only drive one, which of course, to kind of flex a little bit, I did drive the BMW, so that turned out to be a bit of a waste. Yeah, she doesn't like little like things on the periphery that in the grand scheme of things don't matter, She wishes I had like a better job and was like further along in my career, yada yada yada, just weird things. But I've known her 11 years now. I almost said Christmas, Halloween will be 11 years. But at this point, I try to leave everything open because I need a family, and some babies. So, and I know her mind's there too, though she just turned 40 last month. So, but she did freeze her eggs, not to get all in her business. But I'm at that point now where like everything's a possibility, so I'm not gonna burn any bridges. But certainly I'll let you know with this girl Kay what's going on. But again, she didn't like run and hide. She's like all in my stories. Matter of fact, right before I turned the camera on, she was like the last person to look. So I'm sure in her mind she feels like she's giving me some act right. It may be a blessing in disguise because I was like a little tired and low energy. Of course, I've kind of perked up now as I usually do at night. But maybe a full featured like standalone date may be more appropriate as opposed to just a meet and greet. Who knows? Sometimes you can't really see the answer until things have developed and the dust has settled. Or maybe I'll tell you in like a week or two, like, yeah, she blocked me and we're no longer friends or whatever. But there's no reason for it, but certainly I'll let you know. Anyway, the Lord is faithful. Stay with me. God bless.